My gosh, there she is, Freya Allen. How you doing?
How are you doing?
It's good to see you again. We talked a little bit ago about The Witcher, and
Yeah, I thought I recognized you.
yeah, the books in the back and everything.
Yeah.
Being part of this franchise, which I grew up with, I love this franchise, and congratulations on your role in this. You play such a great character. Was it all on the page when you got the script?
Well, no. I mean, I loved the scenes I was getting to do for my auditions, and there was some beautiful writing in there. But I definitely remember feeling like once we got started that I didn't want her to just be this sort of liar and this manipulator. I wanted to bring more than just that, and make it still feel like, you know, a relationship had formed, and that there was more to her than just that. And so for me, that was just about, you know, figuring out a backstory and bringing a little bit more to it than just what was on the page, which is what our job as the actors is to do. So yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the evolution of your character, though, in the film. It's a beautiful arc.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like she's always pretending in one way or another, but she begins pretending to be a feral human and pretends that she can't speak in order to protect herself because of the position she's been put in. And as the film progresses and, you know, she reveals that she is in fact intelligent and can speak, she goes on this, you know, she is rediscovering, like she's being challenged on the perspective that she's grown up with of apes, and that is through Noah. They're kind of holding a mirror up to one another, and I think she is so surprised by how much she sees of herself in him and vice versa. And so there's this journey going on, but she also has her own missions that she needs to complete, and so it makes completing those missions a lot more painful, and she goes to, I think she surprises herself, you know, her by the end of the movie is she's a different person because of what she's experienced, and so it, you know, it's almost like the whole journey is like a metaphor of evolution.
I think her journey, and I think the audiences are going to appreciate, especially fans of the franchise, is that she opens the door to what's going to happen in the next episode, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, lovely future.
Yeah, no, it's. I feel like, yeah, the end just leaves you get your questions answered, but then it leaves you with more questions, which I think is exciting, and hopefully we get to answer those.
What do you think audiences are going to take away from watching Kingdom?
I mean, I think, you know, it's a film where you can go and you can escape and just see the spectacle that it is. But if you choose to, there is so much in there that you can, you know, to unpack and to analyze and to just discuss. You know, my family went and saw it, and all of them afterwards were all talking about different things that they'd caught onto, and I'm still learning about this film. I'm still watching it and realizing things that I hadn't realized. There's so much in there that you can look for, and I think that, you know, what I love is they're not afraid of silence in this movie, and, you know, and moments of allowing an audiences to interpret it how they want, how they, you know, making it personal, so everyone can come out of this movie with different ideas of what's happened, which I think is really exciting.
Well, it's really exciting for me to talk with you about this wonderful, wonderful, exciting film, and thank you so much, and it's great to see you again, Freya.
Great to see you again. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ashley Judd, as I live and breathe, it's great to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Tony. I hope you've been keeping well.
I think so. Congratulations on Lazarus. Wow, what a nail biter this is.
Good.
Was it that way on the page when you got it? When you got the script?
Lazarus, when I read the screenplay, which our director co-wrote, it was very quirky to me. You know, it had these really original elements. For example, when my nieces, with whom I live in an isolated cabin out in the woods, apart from society, make decisions, we're egalitarian. We have equal voice. And we're talking about, for example, what to do for the winter for our food. And I propose that we ration because we're living with a lot of scarcity. And so when we vote, we tap on the table. And we have a lot of customs and rituals. And I just thought it was very inventive. So that's what stood out to me when I read the screenplay.
Talk to me about the character that you play, Lee. She is very, very deep and very layered.
Yeah, so Aunt Lee has a lot of complexity. And one of the things I'm discovering as I talk with people about Lazarus is that they are appreciating the complexity of the character. And also they're being willing to share that there are times they weren't sure if Aunt Lee is wholly likable. And I think that's a very important conversation because moviegoers are challenged by women whom they may not find likable because Hollywood has never allowed women not to be likable. And if they're not, they really stand out and are conversation pieces for decades. So studio bosses and producers give notes on screenplays. This isn't likable, change it. Make her more likable. This happens all the time. You know, and as Aunt Lee, I'm driven, I'm protective, I have a sense of purpose and mission, I know exactly what I'm about. And then of course you have this reveal at the end that shows where all of this comes from, you know? And so and then everybody's like, oh, I get it. You know, but those first scenes are like, wow, she's intense. You know, Lazarus to me as Aunt Lee is something very particular. It's like a gender utopia. We're free from the threat of male sexual violence. You know, so I was really digging that, you know, as a survivor. But to the girls, it's something totally different. So I'm very curious to learn what audiences take away from it.
In our final moment that we have, you know, over the years with everything that you've done as far as acting, do you prefer comedy over drama, or is it all the same?
You know, acting is fun. It wasn't always fun at times. And acting is fun. And making Lazarus in particular was so enjoyable. I have really great memories of being on set. You know, I lived in a tiny home on a nature reserve on a green river with a compost toilet with Sarah Pigeon and Katie Douglas, who are incredible, talented young women. And we played running charades every Saturday night.
First of all, congratulations on a perfect cat and mouse thriller. I'm just like still shaking.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I'll take the congratulations for my part, but as you know, it was my wife who was the real creative force behind it, and so I'll take pride in that as well.
Is there any consternation on your part working for your wife?
Absolutely zero. And, you know, I mean, the standard joke is it's just like at home, I do as directed. But to take that collaboration, and we've done, you know, starting with her short films years ago, you know, we've worked together many times. Well, starting with meeting as cast members of Peter Pan, the musical on Broadway in 1991. You know, we've collaborated for a long time in different ways. So no, there's no qualms about going back to collaborate with her again.
Yeah, and what a great musical that was. Was it Dorothy Hamill was in it?
It was another Olympic figure skater, Kathy Rigby.
Kathy Rigby.
Kathy Rigby, who was a great Peter Pan, and then they had been out for a year on the road and on Broadway, and I joined, and then shortly after Michelle joined. So it was a great time.
Do you miss live theater?
I do. I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh my, I need to go back and get my dose of it, because really once I made the transition from The last Broadway show I did was another one actually Michelle and I did together. It was Laughter on the 23rd Floor, a Neil Simon play. I was in the original Broadway cast, and then for the national touring cast, Michelle joined us on that. 1995 was my last full stage production. There's a possible something in the not too distant future that might get me back on stage, but once I made the transition, I really embraced being a film and television actor, and I've enjoyed the different kinds of challenges there.
Well, let's talk about Wade, because I have to back up by saying I love the choices that you make, and they are sometimes just I don't think of you as a character like this or whatever, but Wade seems to be something that's just I haven't seen you do. I've seen you do mean, but I've not seen you do psychotic.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those that's once you find any kind of little road into the guy's psychology or the guy's emotional state, it's such a freeing thing to play. Just a psychopath who is just like a shark, you just moving forward and surviving, and everything, literally everything else in the world is collateral damage. It was really maybe concerningly simple for me to wrap my brain around and to play that character. But it was I got to exercise a lot of demons.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you did. I'm sure it was a cathartic kind of role, but in its simplicity, it is so deep and so. I feel like I watched a modern Hitchcock film.
Man! That's one of the lines that I'm going to repeat to my wife, because as she was studying becoming a filmmaker, of course, Alfred is one of the icons.
Yeah, and her use of camera, and where it is. I mean, it just blew me away that movies like this are not made like this anymore. And the way that the film was presented, it took time to open, and it took time for everybody.
Right, yeah.
And we don't get that anymore. People don't have the attention span.
Right, and that was it's always one of the battles, for any filmmaker, but for Michelle with this, and as she was both in the writing and shooting and editing process, was finding that happy medium between telling the story the way she wanted to tell it, not succumbing to that, everything has to be bang, 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 constantly, don't let anybody, breathe for a moment. Finding the right combination of that and not making it too long and arduous,
Exactly.
And I think, the final cut is just, to me, the absolute perfect balance.
Yeah, as I said, it's a perfect cat and mouse, and it wouldn't be perfect if you didn't have the scene partners that you had. Isabel is just freaking amazing. Right,
Isabel Anaya, who is the main mouse to my cat in the movie, and everybody, Fernanda, who plays her mother, and Alan Leach, and Olivia Simmons, our daughter, who plays her stepsister. I mean, another part of the beauty of this the whole experience for me was obviously our real family being involved together and telling this story about a blended family, and ultimately really about the power of love in the human spirit.
It is a cautionary tale, and again, I can't speak highly enough of this movie, because as an old guy like me, I go back to the 60s and 50s films that were like this, and with that kind of, Fred McMurray as the,
right,
as the old guy, and this just brought all that back to me.
Awesome.
In our final moments that we have, and God bless you for your time today. I know how busy you are.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Do you ever hit the sci-fi conventions for Spider-Man and sign autographs and meet fans?
You know what? I did that one time many years ago, and I just personally, I just found it an unsatisfying and sort of odd interaction.
And in our final seconds, I want to compliment you on voice work that you do. But my aunt was June Foray, the voice actress, and
oh wow,
you are spectacular doing that. I mean, that's a hard hat to wear.
Well, and it's something like everything else, experience helps, and I was able to start out with my early voiceovers doing lower profile stuff and learning, the specific ins and outs of that kind of theater of the mind, as Billy West calls it, one of the great voiceover guys. And it's a real pleasure to have as a part of my career.
Well, J.K. Simmons, as I live and breathe, I just adore you. You're a great guy. And thank you so much for the time, and have a great day.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Colin, it's great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Tony. How are you, man?
I'm good. I think the last time we talked might have been as far back. I can't remember. Maybe The Recruit. I don't know.
What? The Recruit?
Yeah, back at, was it the Ritz-Carlton in...
Toronto?
No, I think it was in L.A. Maybe it was in Toronto.
I don't know. The Recruit's going back to 2002 or 3, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad we're both still alive.
I had hair at one time, and... No.
Yeah.
No, I think we've talked. I think we've talked since then. There must have been something, because I remember you bringing your sister with you on a lot of junkets. And
Yeah.
Anyway, talk to me about Sugar. John Sugar is a hell of a role to take on.
What do you want to know? I enjoyed shooting it. I loved the character when I read it, and I do love film noir, and having watched so many films of that genre over the years, you get used to the characters being very hard-boiled and being very cynical, and they're tired. It's the kind of almost a defining characteristic of the characters at the center. They're whether they know it or not, and whether it's overt or subtle, they're tired. They're tired by what they've seen around them, by the murkiness and the duplicity of the world that they inhabit. And this character, although he has inhabited those worlds of violence and darkness as a private detective, a private investigator, he had this sense of connection and sense of light and sense of belief in the fundamental decency of human beings, which of course is a questionable belief to have if we're talking about fundamentals. And that was lovely, that was refreshing. That felt like a new lens through which to explore the world of this kind of noir tone,
Yeah, because in the description of what's happening, when they send out descriptions,
yeah,
it sounded a little bit, okay, we've seen this before, but then seeing the series, you've never seen this before. I mean,
cool.
This is kind of, as you say, a new take on an older theme, and you do it so brilliantly.
Thanks, man. That's cool. Yeah, like when I heard there was a script coming and it was about a private detective who's trying to find a lost girl, I didn't vibrate with the originality of that as a pitch. And then you see how it's brought to life, because you can tell a story about anything, and if it's done with some kind of integrity or some kind of honesty or humor or just a new approach, it feels like the first time, or it feels just original, and this felt original for that reason. It felt like it honored the tropes. He's a private detective, he lives alone, he's kind of lonely, he lives in a hotel room, he has no interpersonal relationships. All those tropes were in place, but somehow it felt unique by virtue of how the character was designed.
Yeah, it hits all the right buttons, and your relationships with Kirby's character and Amy's character. I mean, it's just so well written and very, very. There are points in it that are very funny too. I mean, it's not just one thing. It's kind of a human experience.
Oh, that's great, man. Thanks a million for saying it. I'm glad you felt that. That's cool. Yeah, working with Kirby and Amy was a dream, and James.
It must have been.
And James Cromwell,
Do you enjoy the car that you're driving?
Yeah, I loved that. That was some of the best days at the office. We're just driving around downtown LA at night with Cesar in the passenger seat, who was our director of photography and also camera operated at times. And Cesar would sit in the passenger seat, I'd get in the car, we'd say goodbye to the crew, including the director, and we'd head off for 30 or 40 minutes, and he would capture everything, my hand, my face, the sky at night, the surrounding streets as we were going by. And it felt really organic and really wonderfully amateur for such a big, fancy flash show, you know. It was cool.
In our final seconds we have, what do you think audiences are going to take away from watching Spencer? I mean, Sugar.
I have no idea, but I need to read the script of Spencer. What's that? What's going on with Spencer? What's he
I'm
up
so
to?
excited.
Where's
to
he
talk
from?
to
No, I have no idea, man. No expectations at all. Genuinely, I just hope people are entertained by it. If they're not entertained by it, you know, we drop the proverbial ball, but hopefully people are entertained by it, and that's it.
I hope so too. And gosh, thank you so much. It's great to see you again, my friend.
It's great to see you, man, after all these years.
Thanks for joining us for Screen Chatter. If you'd like to follow us online, visit us at screenchatter.com. You can check out our many interviews, and you could also check out my reviews. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Toscano, and we'll see you next week right here for another Screen Chatter.